Many of the analytical methods that we've been discussing have geoprocessing tools that support that analysis, including, for example, measuring features with calculate geometry, or classifying features with symbolize, or querying a layer with select by location. We also discussed utilizing the buffer and near geoprocessing tools to perform proximity analysis. You can use, for example, clip or intersect to perform overlay analysis, or a trace geoprocessing tool to perform connectivity analysis. And we even looked at using custom tools like multiple ring buffer to support our analysis. Now, what is a geoprocess? It's executing an operation on geospatial data. And if I were to diagram it, it would be like the diagram that you see at the top of your screen there, in which I've got input layers that are input into a geoprocess that produces output layers. So for example, a clip geoprocess requires input layers like the layer to be clipped, in this example, wetlands, and the layer that's going to be used to clip is the study area, and it produces the output, which is the wetland study area, which is the clipped wetlands to the study area. And that's just a geoprocess. When you go all the way to the bottom, you can see I've got my inputs, which include the green wetlands and the black study area. And I use a clip geoprocessing tools and set the input features as wetlands, the clip features as study area, and the output feature class as wetland study area. And I produce an output, which is a new wetland study area feature class that's depicted in the map on the right. Now, a geoprocessing tool is just a command or function that executes a process on all or selected features and records. And that's an important distinction because in GIS, if you have one or more records selected, when you run a geoprocess, it only runs on that one or more selected. But if you have no records selected, it runs that process on all the features or records. So expanding on the example from the previous side, a geoprocessing tool includes inputs, the geoprocess, in this case, the clip, and the outputs. And geoprocessing tools can be packaged up in ArcGIS Pro as a web tool. So on the analysis ribbon, if you click on the drop down and see the ready to use tools, those are tools, right, that run on ArcGIS Online or a portal geoanalytics server. And we utilize that functionality when we analyze the servant girl annihilator killings. Geoprocesses can also be run as a model tool. If you look on the right-hand side of your screen in the geoprocessing pane, you can see clip model. There's clip, which is the built-in tool, and then as a script tool, which is clip script. And we'll talk more about each of those. There are certain icons that ArcGIS Pro utilizes to help identify what type of tool it is and additional functionality. And you can see that listed in the lower right-hand corner of your screen there. We've already talked about built-in tools, model tools, and script tools. The tool can sometimes be locked due to licensing. So it has a little lock on it, or if it consumes credits, it has little coins. If it runs in the cloud, it has a little cloud associated with it. Some tools support parallel or distributed processing, which can be really important if you're running a geoprocess on millions of records. And then there's some additional functionality when you're running geoprocesses on really large data sets. Now, I've said this word a lot, parameters, but we haven't really discussed it. Geoprocessing parameters are settings and values applied when geoprocessing. And if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see on the analysis ribbon, there's an environments button in the geoprocessing group. And if you click that and set any of the geoprocessing environmental parameters, that gets set for the entire project. So whenever you run a geoprocess, it utilizes these environmental parameters. For example, where your workspace is, or maybe what your output coordinates or processing extent is. Tools also have geoprocessing parameters, including environmental parameters. And so if I open up the clip tool, there's two panels, the parameters panel and the environments panel. The parameters panel are the main parameters associated with this geoprocessing tool. But occasionally you want to use some of the environmental parameters as well, and you access and set those by clicking on the environments panel. And there you can see, for example, output coordinates and processing extent. I'll set the environmental parameters at the tool level when I want my parameters to only run for this specific iteration of the tool and not for all the geoprocesses I run across my project.